Most business strategies aren't just bad, they often aren't even strategies at all. Instead, what they are is goals masquerading as strategies, leaving the space where a strategy should be completely vacant. This in turn leaves teams completely rudderless and kind of pissed off, and it keeps your profits low, and it makes leaders like you look kind of foolish. Yes, if you want to know why people roll their eyes at the latest strategy from the exec committee, well, this is why. I'm Alex M.H. Smith, author of No Bullshit Strategy, and I've advised many of the most famous companies on the planet about their strategies. And you know, what's always kind of blown me away, even with the very greatest brands to be honest, is how they can be guilty of this too. You know, they don't just have bad strategies, these guys. They have no strategies, even though they often think that they do. And mistaking goals for strategy is pretty much the number one, most cliched, most predictable reason for this. Let's see why. So listen, you're going to see this isn't rocket science, and you're probably going to think, well, duh, that's obvious. But at the same time, you know, some very, very intelligent people still manage to get this wrong. Now, what is a goal? A goal is what you might want to achieve. So this might be double our revenue, or become number one in our category, or be the customer's favorite, or, you know, whatever it might be, this nice thing that you want the company to achieve. A strategy is how you are going to actually achieve that, how you're actually going to achieve that goal. After all, look, just saying we want to be number one in our category, this isn't going to magically make it so. Everyone wants that, don't they? And so naturally it's going to be kind of tough to get. The only way you're getting there is going to be with a killer, unorthodox, unique idea, a unique play. And that unique play, that is your strategy. Now, the thing about using goals as your strategies is that basically what you're doing is you're passing the buck. You're setting up the problem, but you're not actually providing a solution. This is obviously quite, infuriating for your team, clearly. I mean, you're basically saying to them, hey, here's this thing I want, but I've not really thought about how we're going to do it, so you guys, you just figure it out. Now, perhaps in some cases this actually happens. Perhaps in some cases, the company thinks, oh, damn, well, that certainly is a big goal. And then they start hustling and they come up with a solution to it organically. But I gotta say, I've never seen this. I've never seen this happen. What happens normally instead is that everyone gets kind of mildly, quietly pissed off with this silly, empty strategy from the big dogs. Nobody takes it seriously, and it gets quietly forgotten, at least until a couple of years go by when another non-strategy is rolled out to repeat the same sorry cycle. A strategy, at its most basic, is a unique move that the business is going to make in order to get an advantage over the competition. Now, there are lots of different flavors of this. I have my own, but universally, it's going to look something like that. And you can spot it, firstly, from the unique bit, because naturally, it's going to be something that you are sure other companies are not doing. And then secondly, there's the question of it being a move, as in, is it a specific action? A statement that we are going to go out there and we're going to do X as a company, not Y or Z. And of course, you're saying that if we do that thing as a business, it is going to help us achieve whatever that goal is that we set. Another very simple way of knowing that it's a strategy you've got in your hands is that it doesn't leave anyone asking the question how, as in, how are we going to do this? It is the how. It is an instruction. It tells your business what to do. That's why real strategy isn't scorned by the team. No one rolls their eyes, it's welcomed by them because it makes the job far, far easier. It sets a path and they just have to walk it. By the way, we're about to dive into how to actually create a strategy, but before we do that, I just want to let you know that I help over 27,000 other leaders like yourself level up their strategic thinking every week in my free newsletter, The Hidden Path. So you can join them right now with the link in the description and get some bonus goodies too. Right, back to it. The real reason most companies revert to the whole goals as strategy nonsense is frankly probably because They just find it difficult coming up with an actual real strategy. And it is difficult. I mean, think about it. We're saying that you have to come up with some random idea that's going to create massive results for the business while being up against a whole bunch of competitors who are all also basically trying to do the same thing. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, frankly, isn't it? So, of course, we're just going to chuck a vague goal out there and hope for the best. But actually, it's not that complicated when you just think about things from first principles. The strategic task of every business on the planet is actually very, very simple. Create something that people want, but that they can't get from anywhere else but you. Or to put it even more simply, or even more compressed, just find a way to generate unique value. Because if you do this, you win. After all, you have this thing that people want, and they have to come to you for it, so you can pretty much kick back and let the money roll in. That's the idea anyway, that's the ideal. So when you're laying out a strategy, just make sure that the crux of it is identifying what that thing is you're going to offer the market that only you can offer, that they cannot get from any of your competitors. That is like the whole point of your business. Without having something like that, you're just another copycat. And frankly, the world doesn't really need you to exist, and it'll probably let you know. One great way of doing this and coming up with a real strategy is to look at the ways your business is already different from the competition without even trying, and then leveraging them. Look at all the ways you're weird, even if they weren't intentional, even if some of them actually seem bad or like weaknesses to you, and ask yourself, under what circumstances might people want this? Under what circumstances might this create new value for a customer? This is going to create far more unique and creative ideas than just asking, how can we create unique value for the customer? And plus, they're going to be far easier to execute because they're all going to be leaning on existing differences rather than you having to create them out of thin air. Now, in addition to goals as strategies, there are two other non-strategies that I see masquerading as strategy all the time. Now, the first of these is a plan. Now, a plan is not a strategy, but in fairness, it does look a lot more like a strategy than a goal does, because after all, at least in a plan, there's actually some substance to it, right? There's actually some instruction for people to follow, for people to go and do, and that's good, to be fair. Unfortunately, however, that's all plans tend to be. Simply a list of initiatives, a to-do list that we're going to get done this year, hire this person, launch this product, open this office, without any big hypothesis or idea to connect them. There tends to be no actual play here. There's no move. There's no unique value being created. It's just a bunch of operational stuff that you've got to do in order to keep things ticking over. A strategy, on the other hand, now that is the grand idea that links all of that stuff together and that actually determines what all these things are going to be adding up to in the first place. The other common form of bullshit strategy is what I call a better strategy. Now, a better strategy is when your strategy is to win by simply being, in your own estimation, better than your competitors in some way. Now, you can word this in 1,000 different ways. It might be our strategy is to deliver excellence or offer amazing customer service or whatever, but it always comes down to basically just doing the same thing your competitors are doing, but a little bit more, if that's even possible. Now, remember what I said before, a strategy must be unique. It must involve doing something that others won't do, that others don't want to do, that others are afraid to do, that they can't do, rather than just doing what they will do or are already doing, but doing it a little bit better. Why? Well, because first, everyone is obviously trying to do things well, so you probably won't actually succeed in being the best, and then even if you do, the market won't care anyway, because the market rarely favours, sadly, the best solution. What the market favours is either the most famous solution or the different solution. And if you're not the biggest and most famous, well, being different is kind of going to be your only option. So I want you to just stop and think about the strategies that you've seen in your organization. What are they really? Are they unique, contrarian moves that the whole company does that bring unique value to the market, that open up new space that no competitors would or even could do? Or are they just fluffy aspirations or commitments to be better, or a set of generic best practice actions that frankly you and all of your competitors should already be doing anyway? Let me know what other kinds of non-strategies you've seen and drop them in the comments. And look, there's one other big strategy mistake that I see leaders making all the time, and that is treating strategy as a team sport. Too much collaboration. Can that be a bad thing? Yes. And so in this video right here, I show you why collaboration is probably killing your strategy and what to do instead.